All right, guys, this is the video for the next Excel assignment on the tool shed. We're going to start adding finish layering as if we were building this project over the top of our framing. So first thing we're going to do is some plywood sheathing that goes over the framing. Now notice I'm not doing the whole wall. My idea here is to create a cutaway. So I already put the plywood on, and I'll walk through that with you in a second. Notice it's on this side wall, and then it goes along this whole back wall, and then it goes along the whole wall on the far side. But we're going to leave the front of the building and this half corner here side up to the window open. That way, as we build and finish each of these layers, we'll have the framing around the window open, and then we'll peel back and do part of each step after that, so you can kind of see all the layers build. And we'll leave the front of the house open so you can see the framing and see inside of it and see the finish on the inside as well. Okay, so first off, let's talk about the plywood. This is just like you did on the flooring. Number one, all plywood here that we're using is 4x8 sheets. So this is 8 feet high by 4 foot wide. Okay, and it's also 3/4 plywood. So you're putting it to a 3/4 thickness, just like you did before. And then next you have to offset the seams. Okay, so notice this 4x8 sheet is on the bottom. This one is slid up to the top. Next one's on the bottom. So you need to alternate your full-size sheets. You can see here. Okay, they're alternating through, and then you just have a small section to finish the rest. So you're going to put those on, and they start right at the bottom corner of the building here, right down on the corner of the floor joist, and then they'll go all the way up right to the top, right below the right at the edge of the wall, right below those trusses. Okay, and then when you go to the window, I forgot this weird thing that happens. There we go. All I did here was add a line right down the middle of the window, and then I just made a rectangular pane for this single piece of glass halfway across the window, so we have that cutaway where we'll eventually have a finished window, but we'll also have this framed open section so you can see how you construct the window with framing, and it'll kind of give us some of both. And then the plywood here that you put on top, this 4x8 sheet, same thing. I just built these 4 pieces. And then from there, I took those 4, and I took just 2 of them, the first 2 here, and copied them over, and then just do a push-pull and cut away a section for the window. I just went to the inside here and then turn off the window, tag it and turn it off, and then you can just trace around the inside of the window and use a push-pull to cut out that edge of that sheet. And then you've got that section. And then these 4, I just did a copy of those 4, pulled them off, copy and rotate, and then rotated them 90 degrees, and then put them back on the edge, and then just copied them across the wall. And then I just grabbed those 4 again, pulled them over to here, and then copied them along that whole wall, and that's done. So that's part 1, is just throwing the sheathing on the outside of the house for your plywood for that section. And then part 2 is these little spacers, and I'm sure they have a name, and I forgot what it was. But these little spacers go in between your joists to hold them in place. Obviously, they would just kind of fall over if they didn't have something up here. So all these little spacers are to hold them in place. And now that I just thought of it, realistically in practice, they probably shift these and alternate these so they can end nail in each of these, because it's going to be kind of a pain to have to toe in each of these, and they wouldn't do that probably in construction. But at the same time, we're going to put our plywood sheathing on the roof here eventually on top of this. So you also need these edge lines to attach the sheets, so they have something to be attached to all the way around. So we're just going to go ahead and go with this easy version. Now, all you have to do is build in a 2x4 in between your 2 trusses. Once you have one, I just did a copy move. And my second one, as I've gone over with you guys many times, is where the standard 16-inch on center spacing starts. It's always a little bit off on the edges by the wall. So I copy over once, adjust its length to fit here. And then once I have that one, I just do a copy move times like 18, and that whole section is done. I have one little extra on the edge here, And I just did a push-pull and squeezed it into that slot. And then all of those are done. And then once I have that whole top row done, all I do is select all of them. And then I just did a copy move straight down the edge of the truss 4 feet times 3, and you have all of those done, okay? And so that'll be part 2 of this assignment. And if that wasn't clear, I didn't do this side yet. I left it to show you, so we can go ahead and do this here. So I drew the first one. Why don't we'll even just delete him and start over. So right here, if I'm going to fill in this truss, I'm just going to do a rectangle right near the edge. You can't go right up on the top exactly because these two will end up overlapping each other. So you can't put them right in the corner both, or else you'd have to cut away this bottom corner edge to have them flush on the edge of the truss. So I go down just a little bit from the edge and just start a triangle. And here, if I look in the bottom right corner for my dimensions, I can see the 1 inch is first, the 1 foot is second. So the width is the first dimension here, which I want to be 3.5 for a 2x4, comma. And I'm just going to leave that open because I have exactly the length I want to get between those trusses. Hit enter, there we go. Push pull this guy out 1.5 to be a 2x4. Group that guy. There's my timer. And since I'm going to make a bunch of copies, I'm also going to color him with texture before we start. And now this guy, we just need to bring him down and into place here. So I'm going to grab the corner right on the edge and then just bring that down in and up. And I can't really get any closer than that, because if we go any closer, we're going to have to be cutting away the edge of these, which they would never waste all that time on a job site to custom cut all those 2x4s. So that's good enough. Take the one guy, we're just going to move him over. And I thought initially it would be really kind of a pain to work with these on the angle, but it's not. Just grab the corner of the 2x4, and then you can just copy and move it right over. And that green diagonal tells us we're going perfectly exactly over. And you can see on this side it's a little bit long. So that's where we have to adjust it, because it's still inside of the 2x4 next to it. And even though I can't see that face, I've selected that 2x4, and the face I'm hovering over is the one inside the wood that I'm going to push pull. So I can just click right there, and it's going to grab and move. And we just want him to go right to that edge. There we go. So now we can copy this across the entire row. Grab a corner, copy it, move it over, just like that. And we'll say something like times 16 and see what happens. Perfect. Okay, all right, I paused for a sec, now I'm back, and just adjust that last guy to fit inside of there. There we go. So we've got that set. And now we just want to copy them all the way down. So just select your whole set of spacer boards there. I'm sure they've got a technical name, and I don't know what they're called. Kind of like cripples, right? Just like horizontal cripples in between our trusses. And then we'll just do move copies down the wall. And we're putting these 4 feet apart. Okay, so when we do a move, grab a corner, start shifting it down the wall, and try to get it to grab the wall, which is, oh, there we go. Okay, that might be a little tougher than previously thought. Escape is not working. Try that again. There we go. Maybe if you run down the line, and then as soon as you can get them copy moved, and notice they're sliding down the diagonal of the wall, the program's going to know that. So I'm just going to type 4 feet, enter, and there we go. And then we'll do times 3, and there we go. And there you go. Okay, so that's the 2 parts for this. Is your sheathing on the side and back wall and half of your window wall, and then add your spacers on the top of your roof trusses, all along the top and bottom. I offset the color there just so you can see them If you would do the same on yours, it'd be easier for me to notice them as well. And then next step, we'll put some sheathing and cover up our roof, cover up, do some inside insulation and sheetrocking, start finishing our walls, and this will start looking finished. All right, that's it, guys.